Don't you dare joke about this. I am Emily's mother, not you. You were just a caretaker, nothing more. Coming here and making a fool of yourself, just go back home. My sister said this to me, ignoring the presence of many guests at my niece's wedding, and doused me with water from a pitcher on the table in front of us. The room erupted in whispers, and by the time I regained my composure, it was too late. Beside my sister, who looked like a furious deity, was George, pale-faced. In front of me were my worthless sister and my continuously betraying husband, giving me the perfect opportunity for retribution. Wiping the water dripping from my hair, I slowly stood up. Ladies and gentlemen gathered here, I apologize for showing you such an unsightly scene. First, I apologized to everyone who had gathered to celebrate Emily. Then, Emily stood up. I apologize as well. But Aunt Mia is not at fault. I want everyone here to know the truth I'm about to reveal, to be witnesses. It's time to punish the two villains who deceived Aunt Mia and me. Emily's words stirred the crowd into a frenzy. And then, the scum before me would be cast down to hell. My name is Mia, and I'm 40 years old. I work as a creator. I've been married to my husband George, who is 3 years older, for about 8 years. We don't have children. I have a condition that makes it difficult for me to conceive, and though we considered fertility treatments at the beginning of our marriage, George wasn't keen on it, so we gave up, thinking it's okay not to have children. However, my niece Emily, my sister's only daughter, was a big part of my life. My sister always had poor taste in men, never settling down with anyone, and wasn't the type to create a stable family environment. So, Emily's father is unknown, and my sister didn't even attempt to raise her. This all started when my sister was 20, and I was 17. Mia! You're a student with free time, so from today, you'll take care of this child. My sister, who had run away from home a long time ago and lost contact, brought little Emily to our father's house, where I lived. Sis! You just come back suddenly, and what's this about? Who is this child? She's mine. A lapse in judgment, I never intended to have a child. What? Who's her father? I don't know. How irresponsible! Stop nagging. Just do as I said and take care of her. I've brought everything she needs, so you're responsible now. Wait, sis! I'm still in high school, I have school during the day, I can't take care of a baby. My screams were in vain, as she left the baby and a paper bag with me and walked out again. My mother's gone, and my father's always busy with work, coming home only after I'm asleep. How am I supposed to take care of a baby in these circumstances? Our mother was frail, and she passed away as I graduated from elementary school. Dad worked multiple jobs to support us, left behind. His workplace was far from our home, and he found a part-time job nearby, so he mostly stayed at the company dorm, rarely coming home. However, he always made sure to deposit money for my tuition and living expenses into my account every month. In such a situation, I had no choice but to drop out of high school to take care of the baby. Without even discussing it with Dad, I quit school. Of course, I had never taken care of a baby before, and without any allowance, I bought the bare minimum books on childcare from a used bookstore with the living expenses, trying desperately to figure it out. Fortunately, Emily never cried at night and wasn't in much trouble, but since I had no income, I had to manage with the money Dad deposited. I should talk to Dad about this, but I'm worried about putting more burden on him. Thinking this, I sought ways to earn money while staying at home. I had learned various things on the computer at school, and Dad had an old laptop he used for work, so I used the internet to find design jobs, my area of expertise. Initially, it was low-paid work with fees at a registered agency, but as I continued, I started receiving direct requests, and by the time I was 20, I was earning a decent amount. When Emily first called me Mama, I was so moved that I cried alone. Time passed, and as Emily was preparing to start elementary school, Natalie reappeared. You've done well until today. Sis! You're just gonna take her now? Yeah, I'll take her. What? After all this time? Emily isn't an object, you know. Well, she isn't your child, right? I'm the one who gave birth to her. You're no longer needed. Let's go, Emily. Get ready. No, Mom, who is this lady? What are you talking about? I'm your mother. Hurry up and get ready. Sis, stop. Emily's scared. Where are you planning to take her? She's grown up here, gone to daycare and kindergarten here, all her friends are here. Don't just show up out of the blue and ruin our lives. That's why I'm saying I appreciate your efforts till today. And where I take her is none of your business since you're not related by blood. So just back off quietly. Mom, help me. Let go. My mom is Mia, not you. I don't know you. Emily. Sis, please. Don't drag Emily into your reckless life. I will take responsibility and care for her. Don't take her away. Shut up. It's none of your business what I do with my child. Hurry up, Emily. Mommy. Emily. Natalie forcibly took crying Emily away from me and pushed me aside, taking her away. When I finally managed to get outside, after injuring my leg from being pushed, they were nowhere to be seen. I didn't know where Natalie lived, so I had no way to find them. Disappointed in myself for not being able to protect Emily, I fell into depression for a while. Then, more time passed, and when I turned 30, a letter arrived in my mailbox. Guess what? It was from Emily. In the letter, she wrote about how after being separated from me, Natalie took her to her apartment. She'd always thought of me even after we were apart. Natalie never took care of her, and she was often taken into child protective services. Emily wanted to contact me, but like me, she was helpless as a little girl. After Emily contacted me, we started communicating frequently. It was the spring of her middle school years. That's the background, and having Emily made life worth living, even more than the sadness of not being able to have children with George. Though Natalie prevented us from meeting often, by the time Emily was in high school, we could meet at the diner where she worked part-time. She managed to go to school, as middle school was compulsory, but was told to work and pay for high school herself, so she bravely took on a part-time job. I secretly opened a bank account in Emily's name, without Natalie knowing, and deposited her high school fees and allowance every month. So for Emily, the part-time job was more of a stress relief from Natalie and an excuse to meet me. According to Emily, Natalie was still irresponsibly playing around with men. Speaking of playing around, I noticed George often didn't come home until late at night. And then, around this time, I discovered something shocking: George and Natalie worked at the same place. It's a small world, indeed, but this was a strange twist. However, an even more significant revelation was about to come my way. A few years later, Emily would tell me a delightful yet unbelievable story. That's right. Congratulations, Emily. I'm so happy for you. Thank you for everything, Mom. Emily, now over 20, had found a wonderful partner and was getting married. Finally, Emily was going to have the happiness she deserved. I was jumping for joy inside. But then, there's something I have to tell you, Mia. Something important. What's wrong? You don't look like a happy bride. Is there a problem with your partner? Or did Natalie do something again? It's more about the latter. I really struggled with whether to tell you. It involves you too. Does it involve me? Yes, and me, but you don't have to worry about me. Just tell me straight. It's about George. George? My father. George is my father. What? I was speechless for a long time after hearing Emily's words. Only when she repeatedly called me Mia, Mom, through her tears did I snap back to reality. I'm sorry. I overheard Mom talking to George at her apartment a while back and found out then. I recorded their conversation on my smartphone's voice recorder app. Emily continued. She went to the government office and checked the birth certificate. If this was true, Emily and I had been deceived for a very long time. As I listened to the recorded audio, my mind raced, and Emily and I devised a plan. A plan to firmly punish the two who had deceived and mocked us for years. Don't joke with me. I'm Emily's mother. You're nothing, just get out. Natalie, forgetting the many guests, threw water from a water pitcher on the table over my head in a fit of rage. I felt guilty for ruining Emily's big day. But this was all part of the plan. Except for getting water thrown at me. Today was Emily's wedding day. Her partner was a young heir of a major corporation, the son of a major shareholder. But he was a calm, kind, and down-to-earth man. I had met him several times since Emily introduced us and had dinner together. He understood Emily's background and knew she considered me her mother, so he also called me mother-in-law. Thankfully, his father also accepted Emily as his daughter-in-law after knowing our situation. Such an important day for her. At the emotional moment of the bride's letter to her parents, Natalie lost it when my name was called as the mother. Glancing to my side, I saw George, his face pale as if thinking, "Why are you here?" George hadn't told me about the ceremony today. Neither had my sister. George was sitting proudly in the father's seat. In fact, neither of them knew I would be attending this wedding. I was here because Emily had invited me, but they had no way of knowing that. They didn't even know about my secret meetings with Emily. The room quieted for a moment at my sister's furious expression and words, then erupted into whispers. It was too late for my sister to realize what she had done. I quietly stood up, wiping the water dripping from my hair. And I walked towards the microphone where the host stood. "Ladies and gentlemen gathered here, I am terribly sorry for showing you such an unsightly scene at this important event. First, I deeply apologized to the guests who had gathered to celebrate Emily and the groom." Then, Emily stood up. Aunt Mia is not at fault. Natalie is my mother by registry, but she never raised me. Emily, how dare you speak to your mother like that? I have never thought of you as my mother. My mom is Mia, who raised me since I was a teenager. What? I bore you, even though I didn't want you. How can you forget that and call such a lowlife woman, who didn't even properly finish high school, your mother? What? Mia had no choice but to quit high school because of you. You ran away after dumping a newborn me on her, just so you could play around with men. Emily's words stirred more commotion in the room. Stop it, right here. No, I won't. The groom already knows and agrees. I'm about to tell everyone a shameful story, ready to face the embarrassment. Among us celebrating here are two people who don't belong. I want to expel these two from here, and I need everyone to be our witnesses. To punish the villains who have deceived Mia and me for years. Emily spoke powerfully, tears streaming down her cheeks, her shoulders shaking slightly. I wanted her to be happy. So, I was determined to settle this here and now. My anger was ignited. As Emily appealed to the guests, applause erupted spontaneously. Emily and the groom's close friends, knowing the truth, voiced their support and blessings, casting scornful looks at Natalie and the worthless husband, George. Unable to withstand it, George finally opened his mouth. Wait. I'm not involved. Natalie deceived me too. I was set up. What? You're playing dumb too. What are you talking about? Set up. You're really the scum of the earth, trying to escape responsibility like that. I'm beyond angry, I'm disgusted. You married me knowing you had a child with my sister. And to think, you both mocked me for my difficulty in having children. My words filled the room with a sense of disgust, and whispers of terrible could be heard. That's why I'm saying I didn't know Emily was my child. Besides, Natalie is a woman with a horrible history with men. It's even doubtful if she's really my child. What? You were the one who said to dump newborn Emily somewhere because you didn't want her. I never wanted a child in the first place. You're the one who... As the despicable duo started to shift blame to each other. Enough already. There's evidence, so neither of you can escape the truth. Emily glared at them, her face red with anger. As if on cue, a large screen in the room started showing dubious photos and videos of Natalie and George, followed by their own voices revealing how they deceived Mia and Emily. When I told you about the DNA test results saying it was your child, you were really scared, huh? But it worked out, right? Mia couldn't have children and wanted one, never imagining we'd push my sisters and my child on her. It turned out great, being able to shove all the trouble onto Mia. This conversation played on and on. The gazes in the room turned furious towards the two. Are you still going to play this ugly blame game? I don't care about me. But I will never forgive you for the pain you caused innocent Emily. I raised my voice, reprimanding them both. The room burst into applause again. Among them was one man clapping strongly and deliberately. Turning to look, I saw an elderly man slowly standing up. Let's give a round of applause to the bride who bravely shared her painful story, and the foster mother who raised her, and let me add my own punishment to these fools who deceived them, putting their own foolishness aside. This stern man was Mr. Tim, the father of the groom I mentioned earlier. Tim! This is a misunderstanding. This lowlife woman made it all up. Please, let me make your daughter, Emily, a trophy wife, no, the bride of your distinguished son. And please, keep sending money my way, let me live a good life. Hearing my shallow sister's words, I felt a sense of despair at being related to her. A woman as dirty in her ways with men as she is with money. Shut up. Don't you dare accuse me of something so ridiculous. Get out of my sight. What? I said you're no longer needed. Their ugly squabble began again. Then another man from behind the father-in-law shouted, "Enough. You fools." Seeing him, George's face contorted. Boss! Why are you here? I thought it was too late, and I didn't want to mess up, so I didn't invite you. I invited him. Why would you invite the boss? Do you two even know each other? The boss then held his head, his face twisting. Good grief, don't you even know your company's shareholders? I guess not, you never mentioned it despite meeting several times. Tim stood with his arms crossed, looking exasperated. Turns out, Tim, the leading shareholder, owned the large company where the two worked. When Emily told me the story, I recognized the company name and talked to Mr. Smith, the boss. He was shocked to find out they were employees of his company. So, everything we said reached the boss's ears? Of course. I even asked him, do you employ such fools in your company? I hastily called a shareholders' meeting. The unanimous decision was not to invest in a company with such miscreants. That means... When I told Mr. Smith that, he said he'd consider their dismissal and keep supporting us as before. He said he'd take some responsibility too, right, Mr. Smith? Tim's question was met with Mr. Smith nodding vigorously. If that's the case, I must secure a place for myself as Emily's mother and have your son support me. Enough! I'm ashamed! I don't recognize you as my mother. I disown you and George, who deceived Mia. Emily. Don't you dare call me so casually. Mia. Help me, please, forgive me. Hearing George's pathetic plea, I slapped him. Both of you, leave this place immediately. Emily's words sparked a massive round of applause in the venue, with shouts of "Get out" erupting from various corners. Overwhelmed by the piercing stares and chants, Natalie and George quickly exited the venue. What a wedding it turned out to be. Yet, after ejecting the two, the event was reset and everyone wholeheartedly celebrated Emily and her partner. They were joyously united and successfully concluded the ceremony. Subsequently, Natalie and George were both fired from their company for misconduct. Naturally, they split up, and George tried to escape to his parents' home, but was disowned by them. Of course, the divorce with me was finalized, and to pay the compensation demanded by me and Emily, George had to take up physically demanding jobs like construction and cleaning, leading to a life of utter misery. As for Natalie, her true nature was dramatically exposed at the ceremony, and her fierce demeanor went viral on the internet. It seemed no one wanted to associate with her anymore. In light of these events, I finally opened up to my father about everything. He was more shocked about my struggles than Natalie's actions and decided to cut ties with her, along with me. After all this, despite previously denouncing me, Natalie attempted to reconcile after being disowned by Emily, but was turned away as I had changed the locks at our family home. I even demanded compensation from Natalie, but shockingly, it was discovered that she had embezzled money from her company. To avoid police involvement, she was ordered to pay a substantial amount of damages, plus repay the embezzled amount in full, leading her into significant debt. With no one left to turn to, Natalie found herself monitored by intimidating figures as she worked solely to repay her debts. But in my view, this was just a fraction of what she deserved for tormenting my dear Emily. As for me, I've found success in my career and am now a well-known creator. I moved into a spacious tower apartment to provide a comfortable life for my father. Partly to avoid ever encountering Natalie or George again, and partly due to our family home needing extensive repairs. And then, I officially adopted Emily as my child. In fact, I had been consulting with experts on this matter since Emily was a minor, but it was hard to achieve this goal because Natalie kept evading responsibility. Now, I can proudly call her my daughter. Emily, blessed with a kind husband, has now given birth to a lovely boy. She named him Steve. Emily is currently in Europe accompanying her husband for his training. She often forgets the time difference and calls me daily. "Oh, Mom? You know, Steve did this today." We end up talking for a long time. I'm always so happy to be called Mom. When they return, they'll be living in the same apartment building as me. I'm eagerly counting down the days, but I'm keeping this a secret from Emily. Right now, I'm walking through the